I'm Caitlyn Reed, 34 years old. I never imagined I'd do something that would throw my family into such hardship until it happened. 6 months ago, at our family's Thanksgiving dinner, my sister slapped me across the face, her voice venomous. "You've got 10 minutes to get out of my house." My parents laughed, clapping like it was a show. My cheek stung, but I smiled, pulled a file from my bag, slammed it on the table, and said, "Then you all have 5 minutes." The room froze, their smug faces crumbling as the truth hit. Years of being the family's doormat, paying for repairs, swallowing their lies, it all snapped inside me. That file held the deed to our Spanish ranch, a secret buried for nearly a decade. I wasn't just fighting for a house, I was reclaiming my life. But how did I end up with that deed, staring down my own blood in a dining room thick with betrayal? If you were in that situation, what would you do? Leave a comment below. I'm very happy and want to spread the story further. Back when I was 25, when the pattern of being used started, I had just graduated from UC Fresno with my degree in interior design, full of dreams about restoring historic ag homes in the Central Valley. The Spanish ranch my family called home, built in the 1950s by my grandparents, felt like the perfect base. It sat on a plot with an old almond grove that my grandmother, Beatrice Klein, had tended for decades, her hands rough from years of pruning branches under the relentless valley sun. Beatrice was the one who saw me, the quiet kid who sketched room layouts while my sister chased the spotlight. That summer, Beatrice's health was fading fast from the valley's dry heat, and I moved back to help. While Mom and Dad jetted off to cheer my sister Cassidy at her marketing conferences in LA, I was the one driving Beatrice to her doctor's appointments in Fresno, listening to her stories about the ranch's roots. "These almond trees remember everything, Caitlyn," she'd say, guiding my hands through the soil, her voice weak but steady. "Nurture them and they'll outlast us all." I treasured those moments, learning how to irrigate the grove amid rising water taxes that were choking small farms like ours. Cassidy, 3 years older and always the golden child, breezed in for visits loaded with excuses. She was launching her first fashion boutique in Sacramento, and one afternoon, as we sat in the kitchen with Beatrice napping nearby, she hit me up. "Caitlyn, I need a loan. Just $2,000 to cover startup costs. The shop's gonna explode, trust me." Her eyes sparkled with that confidence Mom adored. I hesitated, my fresh diploma still crisp in my mind, but said yes, wiring the money from my meager savings. Mom beamed when Cassidy bragged about it later. "Your sister's going places," she said, as if my designs for local farmhouses were just hobbies. That was the first entry in what became my secret spreadsheet. I opened Excel on my laptop that night, logging the loan with a note, "Unpaid, emotional pressure from Mom." It felt silly at first, but as the months dragged, Cassidy's calls kept coming. "Another 1,000 for inventory?" I'd ask, and she'd laugh it off. "You're the reliable one, sis." Meanwhile, the ranch needed work. The roof leaked during rare rains, and the almond irrigation system was failing under the water board's skyrocketing fees. I paid $300 a month extra from my entry-level job patching things myself, because Dad shrugged. "It's old, what can you do?" Diane, Mom, would fuss over Cassidy's boutique photos on her phone, ignoring my sketches for a Fresno Ag Museum restoration gig. "Cassidy's so bold," she'd gush, while Dad nodded, reminiscing about her college parties. Why always her, I wondered, entering another $5,000 for roof repairs into the sheet, the cursor blinking like an accusation. Beatrice noticed my late nights at the kitchen table. "Keep those records close, child," she whispered one evening, her fingers tracing an almond shell. "Roots without proof wither in the drought." Little did I know that spreadsheet was planting seeds for a reckoning far bigger than unpaid loans. 7 years passed, and one dusty afternoon changed everything. 7 years passed, and one dusty afternoon changed everything. By 2023, I was 32, knee-deep in a freelance gig redesigning a historic ag barn just outside Fresno for a local museum. The Central Valley sun beat down mercilessly, turning the air hazy as I hauled boxes from the ranch's garage to clear space for my sketches and fabric swatches. The Spanish-style home with its terracotta tiles and arched doorways had always been my anchor, but lately, the almond grove out back looked thirstier than ever, the trees' leaves curling under the weight of another water tax hike from the state board. I wiped sweat from my brow, shoving aside a stack of old irrigation manuals Beatrice had hoarded, when a yellowed envelope tumbled out stamped in her neat script Beatrice Klein Estate. My hands shook as I tore it open right there on the concrete floor, dust motes dancing in the slanted light. Inside was the property deed to the ranch dated 2016, a full year before Beatrice passed. It named me Caitlyn Reed as the sole owner with a notarized transfer from her to me, stipulating that Mom and Dad could stay as tenants at will, no strings attached. Tucked beside it was a letter from her longtime attorney Victor Lang, his signature crisp as ever. Caitlyn, it read, "This land is your roots now. Preserve the almond grove. Don't let developers from Silicon Valley turn it into another tech parking lot. I know you'll honor what it means. Generations of our blood in the soil." I sat there back against a rusted toolbox, rereading it 3 times, the garage's musty scent mixing with the faint sweetness of spilled almond hulls from years ago. Why me? Beatrice had always said I had the eye for what lasted, sketching layouts that breathed life into old structures, while Cassidy chased trends that fizzled. But this, it meant the ranch, our ranch, had been mine for 7 years, and no one breathed a word. Mom and Dad acting like it was theirs, Cassidy dropping hints about flipping the old place during her rare visits. My stomach twisted. They'd let me pour my savings into fixes, all while planning their exit. That night, after locking the envelope in my desk drawer, I fired up my laptop and dove into California property law sites, the screen's glow harsh in the dim kitchen. Adverse possession. Number statute of limitations for contesting a deed transfer, 4 years in CA. Long expired since 2020. I drafted an email to Victor Lang, the name Beatrice had mentioned in passing during her final days, attaching a scan of the deed. His reply came swift the next morning, confirmed, legitimate Caitlyn. Diane and Gregory are tenants only. No ownership claim holds. Advise discretion until you're ready. Discretion felt like swallowing glass, but I tested the waters a week later. Over dinner, as the almond grove rustled outside from a rare evening breeze, I mentioned the latest water bill. $4,000 this quarter for the grove irrigation. The ranch can handle it, right? Mom paused mid-bite, her fork hovering. Of course it's our house after all, she said smoothly, Dad nodding along without looking up from his plate. I had my phone recording in my pocket, the app's red light invisible. Their words hung there casual as the valley fog rolling in. Cassidy called the following day, her voice bright but edged. "Sis, the shop's tanking post-divorce. Can you spot me 10,000 Tyler's dragging his feet on alimony?" For the first time, I said no, my thumb hovering over the end call button. "Sorry, Cass, I'm tapped out from ranch stuff." She huffed. "Fine, be that way." And hung up. I added it to the spreadsheet. Refused loan. First boundary. Their lie about the house burned hotter than the summer asphalt. They'd hidden this to keep me footing the bills, waiting for the right developer offer to cash out. I wasn't just hurt. I was done playing doormat. The deed wasn't paper. It was ammunition. From that dusty find, the plan took shape. With the deed secure, I started weaving the trap. Over the next 2 years, from late 2023 into 2025, I turned that garage discovery into a blueprint for confrontation, all while keeping my freelance design work steady, pitching concepts for Fresno's fading ag co-ops, where I'd sketch layouts that blended old adobe walls with modern drip lines for almond farms fighting the drought. The valley's water crisis was worsening, with Silicon Valley developers circling like vultures, snapping up ranches for employee housing tied to new data centers. I saw opportunity in their greed. During a casual phone call with Cassidy that fall as she rambled about her boutique's latest pivot after the divorce fallout, I dropped the bait. Heard those tech giants are paying top dollar for Valley land. Our almond grove could fetch a fortune, huh? With water taxes killing small plots. She paused, then laughed sharply. You know, that's not a bad idea. Tyler's been saying we need cash flow for the shop. Yee. Tyler Vance, her new husband and self-proclaimed business consultant who'd swept in 6 months post-divorce, latched on fast. I caught snippets during their holiday visits, him pacing the ranch patio with his phone glued to his ear, muttering about quick flips to cover bridge loans. Cassidy started probing Mom and Dad about the property taxes, her tone casual but probing. The ranch is just sitting there. Why not cash in? Dad grumbled about the upkeep. Mom nodded along both, avoiding my eyes when I was in the room. I let it simmer, adding their side conversations to my phone's voice memos app, timestamped and tagged. By early 2024, I reached out to Brooke Ellis, an old college roommate from UC Fresno who'd gone into real estate law after burning out on corporate gigs. We'd bonded over late-night study sessions sketching mock floor plans, and when I called her for coffee in downtown Fresno, spilling the deed details over lattes, her eyes widened. This is Ironclad Kate. I'll prep a video link for the call. We can stream the confirmation live if it hits the fan. We scripted it out on napkins. If Cassidy pushed the sale, I'd counter with, "Did you run it by me? It's Mom and Dad's place, right?" Baiting the slap or outburst. Then pull the file, hit record on the phone, and switch to Brooke's feed for the legal smackdown. "Keep it calm," she advised. "Let them dig their hole." I ramped up the evidence too, snapping photos of every invoice as the ranch groaned under the heat. A cracked irrigation pipe from the summer swell cost $2,000 in parts. I fixed it myself, logging the total repairs at $35,000 since Beatrice's passing. Mostly water system overhauls to keep the almonds alive amid the board's fees. Cassidy hit me up again, that spring voice tight. "5,000 more, Caitlyn. The boutique's inventory is stuck in customs. Tyler swears it's the last." Mom had already texted me a guilt trip. "Your sister's trying so hard." I wired nothing, replying coolly. "Can't swing it, Cass. Ranch bills are piling up." Her silence on the line said it all. I captured the exchange, filing it under escalation. Each entry felt like loading a chamber. The almond trees out back stood resilient, their branches heavy with unharvested nuts, a quiet reminder of what was worth fighting for. Mom gushed to Dad about Cassidy's resilience during one visit, oblivious to the storm brewing. I wasn't reacting anymore. I was directing. Thanksgiving loomed, the table set with turkey and almond-studded stuffing, the trap fully sprung. The script was set, and Thanksgiving arrived. I spent the morning in the ranch's kitchen kneading almond-studded stuffing and roasting a turkey that filled the air with a warmth that felt like a lie. The Spanish-style dining room with its heavy oak table and faded stucco walls was dressed for the holiday, but my pulse thrummed with purpose. My phone, tucked in my apron pocket, was set to record the deed file nestled in my bag by the chair. Cassidy and her husband, Tyler Vance, rolled in late with Logan and Riley, their kids, both clutching new tablets that screamed of overcompensation. Mom and Dad fawned over them, ignoring the hand-stitched placemats I'd made for the table, a nod to Beatrice's love for the land. As we sat, I played my first card, voice light. "This ranch is prime real estate now. Silicon Valley's buying up valley plots for tech campuses, right?" Cassidy's eyes flicked to Tyler, who smirked, adjusting his cufflinks. "Exactly," she said, leaning forward. "Which is why we're selling. Mom and Dad are on board. It's time to cash in for their retirement." My heart thudded, but I kept my face neutral, setting the trap. "You ran this by me, Cass, isn't it? Mom and Dad's place?" Her smile twisted into a sneer. "Why would we? You're just the helper, Caitlyn." Before I could respond, her hand cracked across my cheek, sharp and deliberate. 10 minutes to pack your stuff and get out of my house," she snapped. Mom clapped, laughing softly. "About time, Cassidy." Dad joined in, his chuckle grating like sandpaper. I smiled slow and deliberate, my cheek still stinging. I see, I said, reaching for my bag. The room went still as I pulled out the manila file and slammed it on the table, the thud echoing like a gavel. Then you all have 5 minutes. This ranch is mine. Cassidy's fork clattered, her face draining of color. Logan's eyes widened. Riley clutched her tablet tighter. Tyler sputtered, "What is this?" I tapped my phone, starting the recording, and dialed Brooke Ellis on video call, her calm face appearing on the screen. Brooke confirmed the transfer for me. Caitlyn Reed owns the ranch outright. Brooke's voice rang clear, deeded in 2016 by Beatrice Klein, notarized and uncontestable under California law since 2020. I've got copies and you're being recorded. I swiped to play the 2023 audio clip from my test with Mom. It's our house after all, her voice echoed. Cassidy lunged for the file, shouting, "This is fake. You're scamming us." Tyler's face turned red, yelling, "We'll sue." I leaned back, unshaken. You took a $20,000 deposit on property you don't own. That's fraud, Tyler. Good luck with that. Logan started crying. Aunt Caitlyn, why are you fighting? Riley tugged at Cassidy's sleeve, ignored. Cassidy's glare could have burned the table, but she grabbed Tyler's arm, pulling him and the kids toward the door. "This isn't over," she hissed, slamming it so hard the chandelier rattled. The turkey sat untouched, steam fading in the silence. Mom and Dad stared at their plates, their laughter gone as I pocketed my phone, the recording still running. The table was cleared, but the real battle began now. The table was cleared, but the real battle began now. I turned to Mom and Dad, the turkey carcass mocking us from the platter, and slid my phone across the oak surface. "Play this," I said quietly, hitting the button on the 2023 clip. Mom's voice filled the room, tinny but unmistakable. Of course it's our house after all. The audio cut off, leaving only the hum of the fridge in the kitchen beyond. Dad's fork froze midway to his mouth, his knuckles white. Mom's eyes darted to the door where Cassidy had stormed out minutes ago, the kids' cries still echoing faintly down the hall. "When did you know, Mom?" I pressed my tone, even like we were discussing grocery lists. "From 2016, Victor Lang called right after Beatrice's funeral, didn't he?" She flinched, her napkin twisting in her lap. "Caitlyn, please?" Dad slammed his hand down, the glasses rattling. "This is family business. Secrets keep us together." His face flushed, veins bulging at his temples. I didn't flinch. "Secrets, like letting me believe the ranch was yours so I'd keep pouring money into it." I flipped open my laptop, the screen casting a cold glow on the stucco walls, and pulled up the spreadsheet. Rows upon rows scrolled by, dates, amounts, notes. $35,000 in repairs since Beatrice died. That's me wiring funds for the irrigation lines when water taxes spiked to $400 a month. $15,000 in loans to Cassidy that vanished into her shop. Mom's breath hitched, tears welling. "We didn't ask for that." "No," I countered. "You just complained until I stepped in. Every leak, every cracked pipe from the valley heat, I fixed it thinking it was your home." Dad leaned forward, voice dropping low. "You're twisting this." Cassidy's divorce left her drowning. $50,000 in debt from Tyler's bad deals. She needed the ranch sale more than anyone. I nodded, as if agreeing, then cued the next file. Cassidy's voice crackled through the speaker from a memo I'd caught during their last visit. "The deposit's wired, $20,000 from the developer. Tyler says it's clean, but if Mom and Dad sign quick..." Tyler's laugh followed, muffled. "Silicon Valley won't notice a little padding for my consulting fee." The recording ended on Cassidy's giggle. Mom buried her face in her hands, sobs breaking free. She was desperate, Caitlyn. After the split, the alimony fights. We thought the money would fix it. Dad reached for her, but his eyes stayed on me hard. "You're destroying us over some old paper?" "Destroying?" I echoed, voice steady despite the knot in my throat. You hid Beatrice's will for 9 years, let me shoulder the load while plotting to sell her almond grove to tech suits. Needed it enough to steal her legacy. The room spun with their silence broken only by Mom's whimpers. I closed the laptop, the click final. Eviction notice goes out tomorrow morning. California law gives 3 days. Then your tenants no more. Dad's jaw clenched. Evicting your own parents. Mom whispered, "We can talk this out." But I stood gathering the dishes, the weight shifting from my chest for the first time in years. Their tears fell, but the fallout was just starting. 6 months later, the papers were signed. By March 2026, the Fresno County Superior Court had rubber-stamped the eviction after a grueling 45 days from the 3-day notice the judge citing clear title under California Civil Code. I stood in the ranch driveway, keys in hand, watching the locksmith change the locks while the almond grove bloomed defiantly against the valley's early spring chill. Mom and Dad loaded their battered SUV with boxes, faces gaunt from the legal notices piling up. No hugs, no goodbyes, just Diane's muffled sob from the passenger seat as Gregory gunned the engine toward a Medi-Cal nursing home in Clovis, where monthly fees hit $2,800 for the bare-bones room they qualified for after draining their savings on lawyer fees. Cassidy's world unraveled faster. I filed the fraud report on Tyler 2 days after Thanksgiving, citing the $20,000 developer deposit as mail fraud under federal statute. His consulting fee, padding exposed through bank statements I'd subpoenaed via Brooke. The IRS pounced first, auditing his side hustles for tax evasion, tied to the divorce debts, uncovering $50,000 in unreported income from shady flips. By January, Chapter 7, bankruptcy swallowed the boutique whole. The judge discharged the debts but liquidated assets, forcing a fire sale of their Fresno suburb split level. Cassidy texted me in a frenzy. "This is your fault. We're homeless." I blocked the number without reply, her pleas for family help echoing the loan she'd never repaid. The divorce hit like a valley dust storm. Tyler's schemes, funneling alimony through offshore accounts, blew up in family court, where the judge awarded Cassidy primary custody of Logan and Riley, but stripped her of spousal support amid the fraud fallout. She fought tooth and nail, but with no steady income post-bankruptcy, the kids shuttled between her cramped apartment and supervised visits, their confusion over Aunt Caitlyn's house, a heartbreaking footnote in the custody logs I glimpsed through public records. I didn't stop at eviction. Armed with the spreadsheet's ironclad trail, I sued Diane and Gregory for $40,000 in unjust enrichment, every cent I'd sunk into the ranch under false pretenses. Small claims court in Fresno sided with me in February, awarding $28,000 after reviewing the receipts and deed. Clear case of implied contract breach. The mediator ruled, his gavel echoing Beatrice's lessons on roots that demanded justice. Word spread like wildfire on Reddit's r/Fresno thread, Valley inheritance scandal, sister steals family ranch for tech flip. I posted anonymized, the upvoted post exploding with locals sharing similar betrayals. The Fresno Bee picked it up a week later. Almond Grove betrayal fuels Silicon Valley land grab fears. Front page feature quoting, "A local designer reclaiming her legacy." Reporters called, but I declined, letting the article bury Cassidy's reputation deeper. With the ranch mine outright, I launched Valley Roots Designs that spring, offering heritage tours of the Almond Grove, blended with interior workshops for ag homes. Clients from Sacramento co-ops flooded in my first year, netting $70,000, enough to install solar irrigation and hire a part-time hand for the harvest. I started dating a landscape architect from Modesto, our weekends free of guilt trips or late-night bailouts. Cassidy's last unblocked message a month ago begged for a loan to cover Riley's therapy bills. I deleted it unread. Boundaries weren't revenge. They were survival. In the valley where water wars and tech booms uproot everything I'd learned to guard my roots. No second chances for those who tried to sell them out.